This meeting is being recorded.
Kayode, I can see you. We're hoping for more attendees to make it to the meeting. I'm very happy to have you here. I'm very excited to have you in our inaugural meeting. We are launching our online S2C Power Space platform, and we're very excited that you could make it today. Very excited that we could have you here. You are an excellent example of what the YMCA is able to do in terms of impacting the world and in the continent. Your feeding into the continent has been excellent and exceptional. And I'm very happy to have you on board. Just for the purpose of introduction, this is a webinar series, as I've mentioned, is the online power space, which we are going to be having going forward. We want to help young people to develop their entrepreneurial skills. We are reaching out to young people all across the continent with the intention of helping them to improve their entrepreneurial skills. We are also aware of the COVID-19 reality, and we would like as much as possible to intervene in that area. And we are happy that we have the opportunity of the internet, but also have the opportunity of having young leaders as yourself as part of this journey. So I won't speak so much. I will let you go ahead to speak. Please just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I know you have prepared for us a heavy meal of, I don't know whether it's jollof or it is goat meat or it is camel meat, whatever it is, please feel free to serve it as you please. And I will be very happy in case you need any help from me. Just take it from me. Welcome, Cedric.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. And I want to thank you and the entire African Alliance YMCA deeply for this opportunity. As a matter of fact, like you said, we find ourselves in a very tragic situation, COVID-19. But I believe that as a people, we are all doing our part individually, collectively to fight this pandemic and to be resilient. I would like to share my slide with you in order to begin this presentation. If you would like.
As the screen is loading, maybe, okay, it is loaded. Yeah, go ahead.
This webinar, are we good?
I think your bandwidth is a bit low. Maybe you could just mute
my name is Cedric J, like I said before, the ambassador. Okay, let me look it.
Maybe mute the video. Yes. Yeah, go ahead.
The video.
Hello, Cedric. Cedric, are you still there? I think we've lost you.
Morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, wherever you are joining us from. As I understand, this is a webinar on self-awareness, how we can tap into our eternal greatness. I would like to appreciate the fact that this is going to be largely a conversation between us young people on how to be self-aware and the importance of self-awareness, linking that to entrepreneurship. I will be doing this by reflecting on my personal S2C journey and my experience as a social entrepreneur. I like to appreciate the Africa Alliance of YMCA for organizing this forum. The Africa Alliance YMCA indeed has been leading the forefront of young people on the continent on different issues. This comes as one of the additions of the Pan-African movement in ensuring that young people are equipped in terms of how they can engage in the power space and the entrepreneurial engagement. I also want to thank the Canadian YMCA, who has been giving support to the African Alliance YMCA in terms of such engagement, and doing so to recognize the fact that the Africa Canadian Leadership Initiative is driving this initiative. My thanks also goes to the Secretary General of the World Alliance of YMCA, Mr. Carlos Majid-Sanvi, who happens to be the just former Secretary General of the African Alliance, blazing the trail at the world level, providing constant support and engagement to the African Alliance. And then also to Nirina Rakotomalala from Madagascar, the current Secretary General of the YMCA, ensuring that the YMCA continues in this effort. My thanks also goes to Lloyd, to Jill, to Stacy, Osborne, and the entire African Alliance team for ensuring that the work of the movement becomes useful to young people and to the continent at large. And finally, to you, joining us from different parts of the continent for this webinar. I have decided to register this appreciation at the beginning and not the end because, truly speaking, many people have so much to share. Many people have so much experience, to put across. But rarely do they have the opportunity to engage other young people as I'm doing. My understanding is that young leaders across Africa, across various countries in Africa, are following this discussion. It is very refreshing. And it is for this reason that I must thank deeply all those I've mentioned ahead. I'd like to apologize for my voice. I've been actively on the ground campaigning for the past 3 months. So most cases, I get to lose my voice from time to time. One of the hazards of, youth political engagement. When I was a young person, and even 10 years, 15 years before now, I've always, thought of the reputation of those who stand to speak, to me. So that if someone is speaking to me about hunting, I want to find out what experience he has in hunting. If someone is talking to me about medicine, about fruit, about sports, I've always concerned myself with what his reputation is or experience is. So I'd like to share my experience with you that I come across as a subject to citizen ambassador of the African Alliance YMCA. I graduated one since 2015, leading active engagement on the African continent. I'm also a change agent of the World Alliance of YMCA, ensuring that the voices of young people are heard on across not only the continent, but the entire globe. I am currently a board member of the Ghana Tennis Federation and also serving as the spokesperson of the Ghana Tennis Federation. I also happen to be the executive director of Hope Performance Tennis. It is an organization into youth development using tennis as a platform to empower young people. And then also on the African continent, I serve as the Director of Administration Finance for the African Youth Congress. It is a coalition of youth organizations on the continent leading the Agenda 2063. I hold an MSc Development in Finance. I have taken the pain to list a profile to give you a perspective of the kind of background I'm coming from that will feed into our conversation today. It is also refreshing to know that I am a research fellow at the Dataville Research Institute. Friends, what are you to expect from this conversation? I would want you to expect that at the end of this conversation, we will challenge the school. We will challenge, dogmas, we challenge old traditions. I want you to expect that in this conversation, I'll be sharing my personal experience with you. And when you also get the floor, you share yours with me. So most of the account I'll be giving will be from my personal point of view in terms of knowledge and in terms of experience. I also expect that through this engagement, we will all come to find ways that we can navigate multiple tasks and ensuring that when we are pressured, we'll be able to deliver in different circumstances. We need to seize our moment. This engagement is about self-awareness and entrepreneurship. So largely it will be about how to seize your moment. And I expect that you'll find traces of that or inspiration of that in my presentation. I also wish to connect you to the Agenda 2063 drive, the Africa we want, Agenda 2063. I must confess that what I shall share with you today is not exhaustive or will not be exhaustive. It will serve as more or less an essential teaser. It will serve as some sort of information that will require you to also find your space to dig further and possibly find your own inspiration to move ahead. I want to give credit to Google Pics for the pictures that I have used in my presentation. Why are we having this conversation? We're having this conversation at this time because the African Development Bank in 2016 put out that 10 to 12 million young people enter the workforce, yet only 3 million jobs are created. When you compare the statistics, that is not encouraging. From 10 million or 12 million to 3 million finding jobs. The African Alliance, YMC, has been doing a great job on what we call the fact book, interviewing young people, talking to young people across the continent in different fields. And the most revealing trend in terms of youth engagement and employment is that young people seeking for formal employment are more than the labor market can absorb. The labor market is not open up enough to absorb the numbers that in terms of young people seeking job. There's lack of investment in training, youth in technology, NGO work, education, agriculture, health-related jobs. Many young people have little training in this regard. Investment is low. So we're having this conversation at this time to look at such a subject. And nearly 80% of unemployed youth would wish to start small businesses and run it in a professional way. So we're having this conversation because these issues matters greatly to young people. Young people are seeking answers. Young people are looking forward to develop their skills. As indicated in one of the reasons why we have this conversation is Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, where in 2013, African leaders met to look at the continent in retrospect, to analyze how far the continent has come. And there they came out with Agenda 2063, largely talking about a prosperous Africa, that by 2063, Africa should be prosperous, and that young people should be at the driver's seat. you young people at this webinar, those at home, those in schools, young people out of job, young people in school and out of school would be at a driver's seat in this agenda, that women and girls will be playing critical roles in the development of the African continent. It is the vision of the agenda that we shall have cultural identity, a sense of belief in our worth and in our Africanness, and the fact that we can play a major role. That Africa will be a respected player on the global scene. And as said by Professor Lumumba, we will not be, or we should not be, meat on a dining table, but we should be part of those at the table taking major decisions. That it is the vision of this agenda also that our growth shall be turned around using our demographic dividends to become an economic gain. That Africa shall be a giant exploiting our demographic dividends. And in doing so, we look out for inclusivity. Women, girls, men, youth, able, disabled, educated or not, shall all come and join the cause in achieving this agenda. This topic or conversation is on self-awareness. It is truly a very interesting discussion, and one will appreciate that self-awareness is having a clear and realistic perception of who you are. And from the African Alliance perspective, you must have a clear and realistic perspective of who you are. This goes to say that you need to know your capabilities, your skills, your strength, your failures. I mean, the totality of yourself. What encompasses you, or the embodiment, what makes you as a whole, is the concern of self-awareness. And most scholars, or in fact, all scholars have agreed that self-awareness is a conscious knowledge of oneself. To be conscious, to be aware of your own character and feelings. This is a position that nearly all scholars have agreed on. I want you to take a critical look at this picture and tell me what comes to mind. Then I also introduce you a second picture and what comes to mind. Of course, you are seeing old men in this picture. These are two great philosophers. To the left is Plato, the Athenian philosopher, and to the right is the Greek philosopher from Athens, that is Socrates. Plato happens to be a student of Socrates, and it was Plato who popularized the work of Socrates. It is Socrates who postulated one of the most touching words that hinges on self-awareness. And what did they say? Man, know thyself. I want you to reflect on this in your own language, in your own local dialect. When you hear man, know thyself, how do you say that in Swahili? How do you say that in Yoruba? How do you say that in Twi, in Ga, your own local language? Man, know thyself. This statement hinges deeply on self-awareness. Both Plato and Socrates agreed that it is important for every individual to discover themselves, to know who they are, where they are coming from, their backgrounds, their strengths, their weaknesses. And their statement goes to say that a knowledge of self-awareness leads to the betterment of the individual. It leads to someone being refined, and that leads to the development of the person, which then leads to the development of communities. Because when you truly know yourself in terms of who you are from different perspectives, that is where you are better placed to engage. You are better placed to contribute to the development of yourself, your family, and your community. It is important that we must appreciate self-awareness and to understand why it is crucial. It is crucial because the discussion of self-awareness helps to identify our traits. It helps us to know what we can do, helps us to know who we are and what have you. In fact, like I said before, it makes us identify our strengths and weaknesses. It guides our behavior and then helps us to identify achievable goals. There are different models of self-awareness, and you can have a reading for yourself later. But this is from Johari. Johari talk about open self, blind self, hidden self, and unknown self. As you can see from the open self, it is about information about you that both you and others know. So there are things that you know about yourself that people know. The blind self are things that information that you know but others do not know. The hidden self are information about you that you know but others don't know. And of course, the unknown self is about information that neither you nor others know. Now, this discussion largely will center on the unknown self. How can you define or discover yourself in the context that you do not know yourself or people do not know? That is where every human must strive to. That is where Socrates and Plato aspire that every man should reach. Like I said before, there are different models, of getting to know yourself, self-awareness. These are my favorite, 4 key personality traits: the sanguine, the choleric, as we say, the phlegmatic, and melancholic. These are different traits. For purpose of time, I'll just pick 2 of each and then move on. So for instance, if you identify yourself to be sanguine, it means that your strength to be sociable. You'll be charismatic and outgoing. You should also appreciate that as a sanguine person, your weakness will be that you are impulsive and chronically late, and then you are shameless because you are outgoing, you are shameless, you want to constantly make sure that you are out there regardless of, the dangers that comes your way. If you are choleric, your strength will be that you are ambitious. And once you are ambitious, your weakness will be that you are aggressive. Because you are ambitious, you want to be out there achieving, what you want to achieve. And that will present you as someone who is aggressive. People will constantly complain that, hey, you are too aggressive. A choleric person who is passionate also will come across as someone who is domineering. If you identify yourself as phlegmatic, your strength will be that you are relaxed, you are a quiet person, you are content with yourself. And your weakness will be that you are mostly shy and you fear change. And you're also prone to laziness. A melancholic person will be a very thoughtful person, will be considerate and cautious. Such a person will also be obsessive, will be too cautious. Friends across the continent, these 4 key personality traits are very crucial and important. And everyone, nearly fit into all of this. So you need to find time to discover ourselves in these areas. And once you do that, you appreciate your own strength and your own weakness, you are better, positioned to engage. Let us also not forget that we're having this conversation in 2 folds: knowing yourself and then connecting that to entrepreneurship. I would want to assume that most of you have a fair knowledge of the concept of entrepreneurship. But for the avoidance of doubt, I'd like to reestablish the position of all scholars that to be an entrepreneur or entrepreneurship is a concept, about business development that takes risk. You take risk in order to make profit. It is also very important, I should say it is very important, I should say, that there are different kinds of entrepreneurs. The pure entrepreneurs are people who take risk purely for profit. But the social entrepreneurs are those individuals, groups, companies who take risk for social gain, for cultural benefit, for environmental benefit to address issues that confront the community. And it is an area that I fit into perfectly. And I shall be sharing those experiences with you as we move on. I want you to take a very closer look at this diagram. It is a difference between the social enterprise and commercial enterprise. So those who are engaged in pure entrepreneurship, that is risk for profit, are in the middle, fall in the middle column. Those who find themselves in the space of social entrepreneurship, that is entrepreneurship for social good, find themselves at the right side. And if you look at the left side, it talks about the key areas. So the difference are very clear that the mission of pure entrepreneurs is profit, while social entrepreneurs are concerned with social value. The goal for commercial entrepreneurs will be is very clear and distinct, but social entrepreneurs look at multi-stakeholder approach, how are children affected, how are women, girls, schools, religious leaders, how are different people affected. And if you look down, you can see the different types of considerations that makes the difference between commercial entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs. You take the risk, for instance, commercial entrepreneurs are pure risk takers, while social entrepreneurs are risk averse. They are risk averse because largely they think about the impact that it brings to other people, other stakeholders. And so these slides will be made available to all of you, but I just want you to have a look at these key issues, draw the line between commercial entrepreneurs and social entrepreneurs. Now, we need to ask ourselves that where does self-awareness and entrepreneurship meet? So you are self-aware. And I pick myself, for instance, if I am aware that I'm a talkative, I am outgoing, I love to meet friends, how does that impact on me as an entrepreneur? It impacts in a way that it helps me to know the work environment that I can best fit. So someone who is shy, we need to identify that such a person will not love to be in a group where there is constant human engagement. Somebody who is outgoing will want to be in a group where there's constant reporting, meetings, and view. So it helps you to identify the work environment that you want to be. Self-awareness helps people to generate ideas. If you are someone who takes interest in music, or you're someone who likes to write, or you are choleric, or you are a pragmatic person, your personality traits, your strength, your weakness will inform the kind of ideas that comes into mind. So once again, if you are someone who likes to talk, definitely the generation of your ideas will be about conferencing, about radio programs, about TV programs, about hosting webinars. If you're someone who happens to be passionate about stuff, you realize that your ideas will be about, advocacy and stuff. So it helps you to generate ideas. And then also self-awareness helps us to appreciate the ethical issues, the ethical concerns in our personal, community, and work environment. And finally, knowing yourself. In the words of Plato and Socrates, man know thyself helps you to manage other people. Once you know yourself, you are better positioned to handle other people, whether they are your colleague, whether they are your superiors, or whether they are family members. Your knowledge of yourself puts you in a better position to best relate with people. Why should young people consider entrepreneurship? Friends across the continent, you will notice as we started that I made the point that entrepreneurship has become very important because the African Development Bank, the YMCA, and other researches have shown that, truly speaking, entrepreneurship has become important because young people are constantly being left out. That the job market is not large enough to receive young people. The trend is not encouraging. So young people should be concerned because entrepreneurship fulfills a social purpose and brings about a positive difference in communities. It provides us additional income flows. Entrepreneurship gives communities the opportunities to increase their incomes, and it helps us to use our passion, to use our talent, to use our skills to drive progress. So you who is watching me or following us from Kenya, from Malawi, from Nigeria, from Ghana, from South Africa, what I'm saying to you this afternoon from Accra, Ghana is that to know yourselves helps you to identify your passion, your talent, your knowledge, and your skill, and that is able to drive the entrepreneurial spirit. And we're also looking forward to bring about innovative solutions to the challenges that confront us, and also to replace the private sector whose pure aim is profit, nothing but profit. At this point in time, I should like to share with you my S2C journey. I was selected in 2015 when I just came out of the university to serve as ambassador. My first mission was in Kenya, Senegal, I should say, where I was trained. And then we proceeded and we had so many encounters. I was in Kenya, took part in the African Rewards project in 2016 and had the opportunity to work and serve in different countries. I've been to Kenya, to Senegal, to Malawi, to Ethiopia, to Rwanda. In Asia, I've been to Japan, to Thailand, to Philippines. And last year, I just came back from the United States of America, where I participated in the ECOSOC Youth Forum. Now, making this point to make you appreciate the fact that it has been a very long journey. And I am one of the most privileged few who have taken this journey very, very far. Many have taken this journey to the African level and the world level, but I can confess to you that among such people that I humbly stand tall. Young people, at any given time, there's a need to test yourself, to test your efficacy, to test your strength and your weakness. I shall be brief on this. In Rwanda, I had a missing luggage. Someone told me that the Kenyan Airways would not be able to find my luggage for me. A friend told me that, look, here in Rwanda, the president and the ministers consider Twitter as a very, very important platform. So let us tweet. We started tweeting, and in just 2 hours, the Kenyan Airways and the Rwandan Air brought me my luggage with a compensation of $100. The most interesting part of this in my journey is that it makes me to appreciate that I had a voice, because I mobilized about 500 young people across Africa to tweet that I am naked. And that tweet was the #1 tweet for 1 hour. It was a turning issue to the Kenyan Airways and to Rwandan Air. And finally, my back came. It made me appreciate that truly I have a voice and I have other young people supporting my cause. The picture in your shot was taken in Manhattan. Manhattan is one of the boroughs in the United States. And here in this picture are some change agent and staff, and of course the Secretary General of the World YMCA, Mr. Carlos Sambe, who is standing very tall, in the background. And that is me holding the placard, Act Now. This picture was taken in one of our series at the United Nations, where I had the opportunity with these young people to represent the YMCA at the Economic and Social Council Youth Forum. It was truly an honor, and I represented the YMCA at this forum, touting the work of the YMCA and also recommending to the United Nations on how they can leverage on the YMCA platform to achieve the SDGs. Anytime I see this picture, I feel so much privileged that I never expected that so soon I'll be on this platform. And that is the promise that most of you have. The fact that you're following this program, you are in link with the African Alliance YMCA, is a promise that most of you will rise very far to the pinnacle to represent not only yourselves or your communities, but a global organization and, of course, your country in the near future. I'd like to encourage you to keep the dream alive. I would like to share with you my concept or my experience as a social entrepreneur. The Whole Performance Tennis is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization that is based in Atlanta, Georgia, in the United States of America. We established this because we want to use tennis as a tool to empower young people. The evidence is clear that a young person who has a tennis racket, a young person who plays tennis, has a prospect to go to school, has a prospect to play in competitions, travel around, and to earn some kind of income. And that helps the young person to discover themselves and to become better citizens. This is evidence because myself, I happen to be a young person coming from the street, where it was tennis that gave me life. It was tennis that gave me the opportunity to discover myself and to go to school and to become better adult that the young person out there can also emulate. So we do this by providing tennis equipment to underprivileged kids. We are into this, or we have been into this for the past 3 years. We are currently serving 1,200 kids, and we happen to be a major stakeholder in Ghana tennis. In fact, it was this engagement, serving as the executive director of this organization, that I was humbled to be elected as the as the spokesperson of the Ghana Tennis Federation and a board member. I'd like to show you a few pictures of our engagement. So this picture in your shot is a picture that was taken at first program where about 500 kids, were present. These are kids from very, very low backgrounds, many from the street who could not afford tennis rackets or tennis balls or shoes. We bring them together and we provide them hope. The next picture is us training these young people. Most of them are now into the national team. Some of them are now flying across the continent, playing tennis. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has slowed other tennis events, so most of them are either stuck somewhere on the continent or are here in Ghana. And this picture is selected purely for you to appreciate that we are doing a great work with girls. This picture has been, shortened. Has been cropped, but it is about 150 girls in this shot. And we have its complement of boys, but I want to place emphasis on the girls. We also provide, like I said before, tennis racket, tennis balls, tennis equipment to these young people. One of these rackets cost about $100, just one. So, these young people who are from underprivileged families cannot provide this themselves. So we, as social entrepreneurs, go out there, mobilize resources, and we provide these rackets for these young people to play tennis, to discover themselves and become better adults. The next picture is about me in the United States. Here I visited one of our sponsors who actively support our engagement. And it was a great meeting, and he has contributed tremendously to our cause. This picture in short speaks to the fact that we are a team. That is me to the left. Godi is the founder and president of the foundation in the middle, and to the right is the programs and project officer. We do this as young people who ourselves are coming from the street, who ourselves have experienced hardships, and we bear testimony to the fact that tennis has changed our life, that sports has changed our life. So we are returning this opportunity back to these kids. It is important to put on record that as social entrepreneurs, we are equally concerned about the coronavirus pandemic. So the picture in the middle left corner speaks to the fact that we came to the aid of our coaches and volunteers, numbering about 70 who support our cause. We did this to reduce the economic burden they face during the lockdown, period here in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, how was I able to use my sense of self-awareness to tap into my eternal greatness? Don't forget that this discussion is on the theme, how to use your self-awareness to tap into eternal greatness. I am aware that I love talking. When I was a young person, my name used to be written down for talkatives, those who talk in class. And the teacher will come and beat all of us who talk in class. And when the class prefect is annoyed, he or she will put DP, that is double punishment, attached to your name, which means that you talk, but you talk too much. So that is double punishment. And I always tell people that, yes, I know I talk. I know I talk, and I'll find my space in talking. And that has led me to represent different organizations. Today, I'm speaking to you because I happen to be an S2C ambassador and a change agent. It is a job or a role that requires talking. That is why perhaps I'm talking to you now. I've been talking from Senegal to Kenya to Malawi to Rwanda, from Japan to Philippines to Thailand, and I've talked at the United Nations General Assembly. It speaks to the fact that the consciousness of my awareness as a talker helps me to develop myself into public speaking, into advocacy. It has helped me to navigate my course. So that self-awareness is important. I'm self-aware that I'm a writer. I love to write. I love to express myself in ink. That has contributed in helping me to produce reports and hundreds of articles for different organizations. I've written for the African Alliance YMCA. I've written for the Ghana YMCA. I've written for the World Alliance YMCA. And I've written for a host of organizations that I'm sure most of you will come to terms with. And if you have time, you can just Google my name, Cedric Jelu, and you'll see most of my work online. I know I'm a social gem. I love to network. I love to visit friends. I love to dance. I love to go for social engagement. So this self-awareness has helped me to organize people because I know that I go to parties, I go to forums, I go to weddings, I love funerals, I love visiting friends. It made me know that I have a large pool of network. So that network, I leverage on that network to create social impact. And the evidence, or one of the evidence, is the whole performance tennis, where we use sports to impact young people. I am aware that I'm a young person with so much energy into sports. It has helped me to use my energy to drive great causes. I have contributed by helping other young people in different areas to champion the cause of young people here in Ghana, in Africa, and across the world. And it is the consciousness, as Plato and Socrates put it, that self-awareness that helped me to know that I am a sportsman, to know that I'm energetic, and a young person who has a voice, who is a social gem, a writer, and a talker. It is this self-awareness that has navigated my course, that has made me to make choices, that has brought me to this level, to be able to be selected to represent a global organization such as the YMCA, and to be talking to you at this point in time. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and guests from across the continent, I'd like to thank you deeply once again for taking time to attend this webinar. I understand this is a groundbreaking session, and once again, I am so thankful for the opportunity, and I look forward to engaging you some other time. But I'd like to pause here and take some questions. You can reach me, that is my email address, and that is my WhatsApp address. I'm a very friendly person. We can always engage anytime to see how we can champion the cause of young people. Thank you so much once again, and I shall like to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cedric. Fascinating conversation we've just had. You know, I did hear you once say or 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 are you what do you call these guys who I'll remember the name, but you're very articulate, and I am very impressed. I think it's because of the fact that you say that you're also a talker.
Thank
So
you.
it's very clear in how you express yourself. So I don't know if there's anyone among the attendees who has a question they would like to put forward to Cedric. If you would like, you can maybe raise your hand, or since we are a few of us, or you could just put a question in the Q&A. Is there anyone who would like to raise a question to Cedric? Maybe as everyone, as maybe people, think about what questions they would like to ask. I'm curious to find out how COVID-19 has affected you, your business as a person. I know you mentioned it in passing, but I'm curious to see how it has affected you, especially as an entrepreneur, and how you've dealt with it.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. It is very sad to point out that this year, as hopeful as it was in our thought entering in 2020, has not become what we expected. This year, I expected to meet some partners in Germany, in France, and the US. And this would have been one of the largest mobilization of resources that will go into our program, that is the Whole Performance Tennis Program, where we are expecting that we'll be able to put up a multi-purpose tennis facility that can house young people and also house young people on the street. So many young people on the street will be given shelter, and then will be given meals at our facility. Unfortunately, we have not been able to do this travel to meet these partners. I'm also sad that we arranged a number of activities, that is tennis events, to put the skills of these young people to test through competitions. Unfortunately, that is also not happening, and that is very devastating. Many young people, as we speak, also are currently disillusioned. They are at home, they're frustrated, and don't know what to do with their lives. Most of them, unfortunately, are finding themselves on the wrong side of the law, I should say, and are not recalling any positive engagement. So this is how we have been impacted. One of the ways that we have addressed this is, first of all, to reach out to our volunteers. Our volunteers are numbering 70. They happen to be the conveners of our activities. They happen to be the wheel on which our activities run. And so we reach out to them with food items and some amount of support to be able to reduce the economic burden that they face during this time. We have also identified ourselves with the case by providing some sort of activities like tennis games, online tennis platforms where they can go and then watch tennis matches. And some of these facilities or tools were provided in communities where young people can gather in 10s or 20s to watch or to engage. So this is how I've been affected in terms of my social entrepreneurship.
Thank you. Is there anyone who has a question from our attendees? Somebody said, I didn't catch who, but that was a very insightful and articulate presentation, and I want to agree. Very insightful and articulate. Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe
Thank you
one
very
other.
much. Ola Kayode. Thank you so much for those kind words.
Okay, he's the one. Okay.
Yeah, Olu Kayode. Yeah.
Yes, it's my friend Kayode from Nigeria, YMCA.
I think I should know Kayode. I think I should know him.
Yeah. He's a good friend of ours.
Okay.
Maybe one other thing I can ask is, how are you coping then as an entrepreneur? Do you make a living from the tennis federation, or are you 100% employed by that entrepreneurial venture? Or because a lot of young people are afraid of getting into that space, and it's just a stepping up to a job after that?
I would like to start by saying that one of the key elements of being an entrepreneur, whether for pure commercial enterprise or for social enterprise, is the fact that you must be a serious risk taker. And as a social entrepreneur, I've taken this risk, knowing very well that the Ghana Tennis Federation is a volunteering role. As a spokesperson, I'm not paid, and as a board member, I'm not paid. And in terms of Hope Performance Tennis, as the executive director, I'm also not paid. However, I must say that these two organizations from time to time make some provisions for allowances in terms of the project. So those allowances helps me to cope, helps me to address issues of butter and bread, at least in a basic manner, or we say in Ghana, to hold body and soul together. But I must put on record that as a social entrepreneur, my ultimate goal is the satisfaction that I get from the impact I bring to young people. That satisfaction is so rewarding to me that not being employed and not living in a mansion or not owning a car does not disturb me. There is a popular statement in Twi that goes like Nipa bepe din, yang bepe nyinchen. It means that man came for reputation, not long years. That man came for a legacy, not for riches. That one of my drive is that I want to leave a legacy. And Lord, you bear me witness that never has the African Alliance called on me, whether to write an article or produce a video or make a conference call or travel abroad or even attend this webinar. Never have I said no, because as an orphan, I am constantly aware of the fact that I am indebted to the individuals, to the organizations that have molded me, that have contributed in bringing me this far. I find no other way to pay this debt than to offer myself back to young people. It is the highest level of self-expression of my humanity. So, truly speaking, I'm not paid for all of this, but I'm content with the little allowances that I get that holds my body and soul together, that puts my mind at ease. And I'm satisfied with that. In fact, there are many of my friends working at the bank, working at what we call Ghana Club 100, the prestigious organizations, that today they tell me that, Cedric, I've been working for 5 years, for 10 years, but I've not seen any impact on my life and the life of people through my work as you have done. That, Cedric, when we see you, we think that you have come to shape people. You've come to contribute to our society in ways that we cannot even imagine. Now they feel they want to leave their space and join me, but they are unable to take that risk because it is not an easy journey. It is a journey that can only be taken through bold and decisive action. So that is what it is to be a social entrepreneur. The cost, the opportunity cost, the benefit that you leave behind for the greater good of the masses. Thank you, Lloyd.
Your calculation for net present value is different from someone as another business, I can imagine.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kayode has a question he's put on the Q&A. How many young people in Africa are dependent? How do you think they can surmount these obstacles?
Thank you very much, Kayode. One of the main reasons why many young people in Africa are dependent is as a result of ignorance. I will not ignorance, yes, ignorance to put it clear. And it is true, Kayode, you said that there are many people on the continent that are dependent. And the evidence is everywhere. There are many young people that today, in their 30s, and some getting close to their 40s, are still living with their parents. There are young people today who are 29 years, 30 years, are still following politicians for handout. There are many, many young people today who have to do what to call yes sir massa, yes sir massa, yes sir massa every day, yes sir massa, just for cocoa, just for water and bread. So that is very true. And it is true because young people are ignorant. They are ignorant about how to discover themselves. They are ignorant about their own self-awareness. They are not conscious of what they can offer, their competencies, their skills, their talent. They are not aware of this. So it is this lack of awareness that is preventing young people from taking their destinies into their own hands. Some say education, but you see, education seems to be a higher, consideration on the ladder. Because I've seen people, even here in Ghana, who have not been to school or who have no education, but because they were aware that they are good runners, and it is through running that there will be somebody, they stick to that path, they've discovered themselves, and today they are, rocking shoulders at the world stage. There are people who have not been to school, but because they are conscious and they are aware that it is their social engagement, the way they are connected. I have a friend who knows Accra like his palm, and we call him Google. There's no part of Accra that he does not know. And because this young person knows Accra just as his palm, he was able to use that to connect to the tour agents here in Ghana. So that when you have expats coming into the country and they want to move around, this guy is the best tour guide. But this guy has not been to anywhere in school before. But he realized that there are people who need direction. There are people who need to be taken to places, who need to be informed, and he has those information. He put that to service and is into business and is earning it. So Kayode, my single solution that I would prefer is that we need to make young people conscious, first of all, about themselves, that self-awareness. Then we need young people also to be conscious of what they can offer, what they can contribute, and to be conscious of their environment, the environment they find themselves in. A young person in Russia cannot have the same environment as a young person here in Ghana, or a young person in Ghana may not have the same environment as a young person in Nairobi or Johannesburg, or even where you are coming from, Kayode, Lagos, Nigeria. No. The difference is, sometimes slim, sometimes it's large. But it is for a fact that we need to be conscious of the environment and for young people to be empowered. This conversation comes to fill that gap of empowerment. And that is why I thank a host of individuals and organizations that have, brought about these engagements. That it is for organizations such as the YMCA to ensure a young people come to this consciousness, to ensure young people come to this awareness. Because you see, the young people themselves are not aware that they are ignorant. The young person, let me tell that himself or herself, is not aware that he or she is not ignorant, is ignorant, I should say. That is why in school, when you are teaching kids something, you get to teach them and they reach a point and they say, what that means is that the young person, intuitively, in terms of spirit, mind, has been experiencing these kinds of things through the environment, but has not come to that consciousness yet. So when such forums, such webinar, such conferencing empowers young people, we bring people like Cedric, like Lloyd, like Kayode to share their experiences. It is then when those young people will reach that state of, and when they reach that state of consciousness, then it brings about their awakening. And that is where Thabo Mbeki had envisaged the Pan-African agenda, the African Renaissance, the rebirth, the consciousness. And I think that if we continue as an organization to drive this cause, to bring consciousness to young people, to make them self-aware, to bring knowledge to the system, then the dependency ratio of young people on adults would reduce. Young people would take their destiny into their own hands. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Cedric. That you speak like a true ambassador, S2C ambassador. I'm very happy when you mentioned the African Renaissance. It's a very important, and I think it was a beautiful dream, like you've said. I've had an experience with a group of young people who, the challenge with that group of young people is the approach of money fast. We also did some kind of sessions where we were talking to a whole host of young people across the continent, and we asked them, what motivates you? A lot of young people said that, I am motivated by money. A lot of guys also said that they are impatient and they like things to happen quickly. Maybe to conclude, as I had promised, I'll not keep you for more than much more longer than an hour, and I think our hour has come. What would be your parting shot to millennials and those other generations who have that reputation of being quote unquote impatient or tend to put money first, seeing as you've said it repetitively that your net present value is very different from what would be considered net present value for a normal entrepreneur. So what would be your parting shot to these generations, young people that you come across daily?
I would like to respect the aspirations of those young people who see capital. Of course, that is where you put as money as their motivation. I must respect their aspirations because as young people, you are being driven by your background, by your history, by your past, and by your environment. So that if young people who find themselves in a state where hunger is what they face on daily basis, if deprivation, lack of sheltering, no opportunities, if that is what they face constantly, then certainly the only aspiration that they may hold is to be, when will I make money? When will I buy that car? When will I be in that house? And I have to respect that because I'm coming from a background where I lost my parents at a very young age. And it took community to raise me. Even though at a point in time I found myself on the street, I must also confess that at different times, I also find myself with people who are well-to-do. Because as a tennis ball boy, I lived with judges before, judges of the appeal court, Supreme Court. I've lived with tennis gurus, people who have achieved a lot, with academicians. And I was raised by certain people. And the reason why money has not been my driving force is because I see myself as a product of the community. I see myself as a product of the benevolence of people. And throughout my struggle, I have always felt indebted. It is for this reason that my net present value is largely based on the impact I create. But for the young person out there who is being bullied, for a young person out there who is being, sexually harassed before they can eat or survive, who is denied jobs or even give job through sexual exploitation, for those young people who don't have any sense of hope and all that they can think about is survival, then there's nothing more that they can think about than survival, and that survival is money. And I respect that. But whilst respecting that, I would like to share with my brothers and sisters in this situation that there's nothing wrong to aspire to such a feat, to be worthy, to make money a priority. However, the world is more than that. And the world is more than that to a level where we've even seen in the humanity of Bill Gates, of Bezos, of Mark Zuckerberg, and other billionaires who have made all the money and are now returning to support social cause, who have made all the resources and are now giving back to communities, are now providing support in Africa and Asia for water, for food, because they've come to realize that it is not enough to make the money, but it is also enough and important to cause social change, to impact the lives of others. So to my colleagues, to my friends, brothers and sisters across the continent and her diaspora, once you dream to make money, once you dream to be capitalist, I also want you to think of the fact that there are people who are looking forward to benefit from your generosity, from your knowledge. They are looking forward to benefit from your skill. There are many people whose life will be changed just because you have decided to also contribute, that you have decided to write their story. You have decided to lend a helping hand. You have decided to share your story and to help the cause. I want them to also consider that cause as a great cause, as a cause of dignity. And I also hope that they will find their space, that they will make their money, but in doing so, there should be a balance between their approach in making money and their drive in causing social change. Because it is the joining, or it is the fruitful balance of these two situations that will be able to drive social impact. Because it will become increasingly true from a tree perspective adage that says that adia eye fe nyina no ye de sika na eye. To wit, all that is beautiful, all that is great, all that is nice, or most of the great things we see are being fueled, are being managed, are being driven, are being supported with money. I may not be the one providing the money, but somebody in Atlanta, Georgia, who is working himself out, has provided $5,000 for the kids in Ghana. But it has taken me, who is concerned with social impact, social drive, to be able to meet this person and say, look, you are in the United States of America, you want to help kids in Africa. I am also into the social change impact circle. Can we meet? Can you give me your resource? I take your resource and impact the lives of people. And this was put very clear in the words of one of our donors. He said to me, and this is Warren Buffett speaking. Sorry, this is one colleague's sponsor called Warren, not Buffett. Buffett just came, because he said, no, yeah. Warren Frame was good. The name has come. Warren Frame was. Forget about Buffett. This conversation. Warren Frame was. And you can check Warren Frame was from our website, the Whole Performance Tennis website, www.wholeperformancetennis.org, who happens to be one of our, board members. Warren Fremu said to me, Cedric, we want to cause change, but we are not in Africa. We will give you the support to support those who need it. So young people should know that you can be that, that link, the chain that will join capital to impact. So young people, once you think about capital, about money, don't think of it more as owning it or as you building it, but think more of you using your talent, your knowledge and experience to attract it. And when you attract it, you will be able to direct it to social impact. Because the goal is that the young people coming after you, your children and your children's children, should not come to find themselves in a situation that you are facing now. So if you make all the money without any social impact, we will come back to ground zero. And that is where the economy say it's a vicious cycle. It is a vicious cycle because you make the money and you spend the money. So those who come after you have to also make their own money. And the cycle continues and the poverty level continues. But if you make the money and you direct part of that money to social cause, it is those social cause that will be the foundations of progress, of development. For instance, imagine that if you were able to secure the funding and build the multi-purpose tennis court, housing about 500 kids. And each year we are providing kids who are going to college in the US, because we were about meeting a college in Atlanta, Georgia, to recruit some of these students, to the US schools. So if each year we'll be able to send 10 kids to the US, what it means is that the facility we have built will become the fountain of progress. So all young people will just come and pass through and they achieve their destiny. Come and pass through, achieve greatness. Come and pass through, achieve prominence. And it will always be there. But imagine that, Lloyd, I was given a 5-year visa. When you, Lloyd, when Eddie, Mr. Carlos, the African Alliance selected me to go to the UN, I was given a 5-year visa. Imagine that I went there and I chose not to come back to Africa to contribute to this cause, to help other young people. It means I've broken the chain. It means that resources will be stuck with me. I'll make all the money all right, but I'll not be able to make it flow to those coming after us. But if we provide the resources and we create the fountains here, it will be like a conduit. So young people only pass through and go, pass through and go. That is what I want young people to be concerned with when they think about money, when they think about resources. So think about they becoming the conduit, not only for their own progress, but for the progress of the many people that will come after them. Thank you.
Cedric, I will not add one word to what you have said. You have spoken excellently, and I really appreciate your being here and taking the time with us. And for the time that I have known you, not once have you disappointed myself or any of the other staff at the Y, but also the leaders of the Y. We are very proud of you, and we speak of you, and that's why we thought about you to be one of the pioneers in this program. And really appreciate you've taken about an hour and a half just to share with us from your wisdom, and really appreciate you. And I just want to say that this is not the last time we'll be calling upon you. We would like to have you engaged a lot more, and especially as one of the mentors for the program, because I think more than a speaker, you are a mentor and a leader. And I think this is something we would really like to engage you in. If you would be interested in taking this journey with us, we consider you to be part of our family. And I'm very happy that you are able to join us.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. I want to return the thanks to you and to the African Alliance, World Alliance, Mr. Carlos, and of course your entire team. I must confess once again, I've said, but I think that for you to ask me that if I would take up the opportunity or the responsibility of being a mentor, and you were asking me that whether I would take up that role, I think for the avoidance of doubt, let me put here on record and on video that at any given time you think about me of any responsibility, I want you to know that Cedric will say yes.
Excellent.
And Cedric will say yes, not as a result of a lip service, because Cedric will say yes because I am conscious of the fact that I would not have been here if the YMCA had not impacted my life, if I had not come to the contact of the YMCA. And I know many, many young people in my community, from my school, who today are nowhere close to where I am, unfortunately, but I believe one day they will rise up to. So it makes me so much indebted to the African Alliance, World Alliance, and in fact the YMCA in itself, and to the personalities, to you, to Foscrab, Regina Foscrab, your good friend, to Mr. Kwabena, to Mr. Carlos, to Jill, to Stacy, to Eddie, to Romolo. All of you have helped shape me. And sometimes I sit back home and I feel that I have not shown appreciation enough, that I have not done enough to say thank you. And constantly, I contemplate on what I can do to say thank you, and to feel that I have said thank you enough. So my only way to say thank you is to continue to say yes, to respond positively, to take up such role, to always be at the service of the YMCA until the YMCA is tired of my service. Then I know that truly I have said thank you. So once again, thank you for the opportunity, and I always look forward to this encounter.
Thank you, Cedric. Thank you very much. Thank you for introducing me to Kenke. That one, that one is one thing I'll never forget.
Good.
Appreciate. So I think we have come to the end of the session today. We will have the recording. We will upload it, and I will also let you know when we have the next sessions and have you engaged, and when we start with the mentorship program. But let me take the time on behalf of the AAY to thank you and to appreciate you and your time for joining us. For Kayode and Marcel, thank you for coming. Thank you for being with us. I hope that as we go along, you shall continue to come. It's a whole series of programs, a whole series of speakers, a whole series of knowledge that we'll be sharing with everyone. And you're invited yourself also, Cedric, to participate also as an attendee when you can. Thank you very much. I think for now, we'll close it there. And I wish you a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.